Hi, I'm Nicole Roeder from Gladstone Psychiatry and Wellness, and this video is for parents of teenagers or children who have really intense emotions. That is, teenagers or children who have emotions that get out of control or behaviors that get out of control, and they're doing things that are really confusing to you and you're not sure what to do about it. So I'm here today to explain what it is that is likely causing that problem. So you've probably noticed that there are some times when your teen or child is in control and they're behaving rationally, they're doing the things that they need to do. And then there are other times when they're yelling, fighting, breaking things, hurting themselves, and doing other dangerous behaviors. So, since sometimes they're able to control themselves and behave rationally, it's easy to assume that they always have this capability. And if they always have this capability, then they must be choosing to misbehave, right? Not quite. Some people are born with a biological predisposition to have intense, dysregulated emotions. I'm going to start by drawing you a graph. So imagine that going from left to right on this graph is time getting longer. And then going from bottom to top on this graph is emotion getting more intense. And once the emotion has gotten so intense that it's up past this line, this is what I call the red zone. We also call it emotion mind in DBT. The red zone is a place where the emotions are 100% in charge, and the rational part of your brain that is capable of making decisions, capable of thinking rationally, reasoning, understanding logic, that part of your brain is not reachable when you're in the red zone. So everyone has a red zone. Some people get there a lot more quickly and a lot more often than others. So let's talk about that. So the average person has an emotional baseline that's about here. And they're going along and something happens to cause an emotional reaction. Say someone cuts you off in traffic or someone says something rude to you. Your emotions would go up a little bit and then they come back down and you'd go back to your baseline and go on with your day. Most of the people that we see in DBT therapy who have this really intense emotion dysregulation have an emotional baseline that's more like here. And they're going along and something happens to cause an emotional reaction. Could be the exact same thing that happened to this person here. And boom, they're already up in the red zone. And not only do they get up to the red zone quickly, but they tend to stay up here for a pretty long time. It could be hours. I've seen it happen for days before finally they come back down to their baseline. So we call this a high emotional baseline. We call this high reactivity, and we call this a slow return to baseline. So what does that mean and what's causing it? The answer is that there's some biology involved and there's some environmental influence involved. So the biology is that there are structures in your child's brain, there are things going on in their biology that's causing them to have this predisposition to have this high emotional baseline, high reactivity, and slow return to baseline. And the thing is, though, that they probably weren't born with a baseline quite this high. They may not have been born with a baseline down here either. It maybe was somewhere in the middle. And obviously, this is hypothetical. This isn't applying to your child specifically. And it's also true that for most people, when they were born, their baseline was higher than normal and not as high as this. So over time, their baseline probably inched up higher and higher and higher until it got up to here. And what causes that is chronic, persistent, frequent emotional invalidation from the environment, meaning the people around them. The environment and the biology of the individual child are engaged in a transaction. So the child who has the intense emotions, they express their intense emotions. And to this person right here who has a lower emotional baseline and lower emotional reactivity, they see that expression of intense emotion and they're confused. They're going, what's going on? Why are you reacting like this? It doesn't make sense to me. And that invalidation causes the child to think, I don't know what's wrong with me. Why does everybody think something's wrong with me? So they usually have one of two reactions, and many people go back and forth between both of them. One reaction on one extreme is, you didn't get it when I was crying about how much emotional pain I'm in, so I'm going to have to escalate my emotional response in order for you to get just how much pain I'm in. So they have a much more intense emotional reaction than they did before in response to the invalidation. And then the other extreme is, wow, everybody thinks my emotions are wrong. Maybe my emotions are wrong. So I should try to not have emotions. So instead of expressing their emotions, they shut down and they try to suppress all emotion response. So this transaction between the biology of the individual person and the environmental invalidation causes the emotional dysregulation to increase. And when the emotional dysregulation increases, the invalidation usually increases too. And then the emotional dysregulation increases, and then the invalidation increases, and so on, until it's climbed higher and higher and higher and gotten all the way up to here. And that is the biosocial theory of DBT therapy. Be sure to follow us for more mental health tips and advice.